The only sound in the Oval Office was the ticking of the grandfather clock. The big chair behind the president's desk was empty. Chief of Staff Arthur Locke and Deputy Chief of Staff Ralph Mason sat silently in the straight-backed wooden chairs at each other's corner of the desk. Locke looked at his watch for the fourth time in as many minutes. "Where the hell is he? If we don't get this settled before he leaves for that damn boat launch, the bill won't pass the House." Ralph Mason ran his hand over his face. He was 33, an Ichabod Crane of a man with hair too long and clothes too expensive for his position. He was sitting with one knee crossed over the other. He picked up a piece of lint off his trouser leg and gazed out the window as if he were in a trance. Locke jumped up from his chair and paced the room several times. He was short, in his early 50s, in reasonably good condition, bald on top, with a closely trimmed rim of salt and pepper hair circling the back of his head. He wore thin, gold-rimmed glasses. His clothes were appropriate for his status and completely devoid of style. He took a deep breath, huffed out his cheeks, and looked at his watch again. As usual, he was sure this was the First Lady's fault. He hated her. He wished she were dead. Outside the window, Marine One, the Sierkowski VH-3D helicopter, was waiting. Mason tried to soothe Locke. "He'll get here in time. He always does." At that moment, the door opened and the President of the United States strode into the room. Timothy Connors was a nice-looking man, 50 years old, 6 feet tall. In contrast to his aides, his face was ruddy and his hands were rough because he often took out his political frustrations with outdoor work. The press mocked his fondness for working in the garden. The media hadn't had so much fun with a presidential pastime since Ike's golfing days. Connors was holding several neckties in one hand. Locke and Mason straightened. In unison, they said, "Good morning, Mr. President." "Good morning, Arthur, Ralph." Connors plunked down in his chair. Locke and Mason took their seats. Locke shuffled some papers and held out one of them. "We may not be able to get the votes we need on the gun bill, sir." Absent-mindedly, Connors looked up from the neckties. "Sorry I'm late, guys. I got held up. Rachel had a few things we needed to discuss before I came downstairs." Locke and Mason exchanged a look. Both of them felt the same way about the First Lady as did the majority of the American public. Locke cleared his throat. "As a matter of fact." Rachel Connors came charging through the door. "Okay, boys, let's get this show on the road. I have to be in the House in time for the vote. Where do we stand?" They both jumped to their feet and said, "Good morning, ma'am." Locke began again.